Hey everybody, it's Matt from ElectricAllWheel. We are here with the Troxus Lynx. Troxus was good enough to send us this bike to check out. We've already been playing around with it some and caught some footage of opening it up. First impression, we like it. We are going to take you through some of the general specs really quick. But first, I want to implore you, if you are in the Tampa Bay area, check out Ebikes of Tampa Bay, Florida on Facebook groups. We want you there. Also, check out the Troxus group. I believe it's Troxus Mobility. They have a group where you can check out their bikes and speak to other owners in the community or prospective owners. And there's a Troxus admin in there too. So check those out. We're going to go ahead and take you through this. Here we go. The Troxus Lynx is a 750 watt rear hub on 20-inch 20x4 fat tires. It's a good stance. It's a low frame for those that like an easy on-off with the step through. It has a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery. Mike Toll over his time period has said 25 watt hours per mile. That's the yield. So for every mile, it's going to cost you 25 watt hours. So for this Troxus, we have a 48 volt battery times 20 amp hours, and that gives us 960 watt hours. If we go ahead and divide that by 25, we're looking at 38.4 miles at 20 miles per hour throttle only via the Mike Toll calculation. And if you check out the Troxus website, they say that it is actually 33. So good for them. They're not overstating their battery usage, and it jives with what the Mike Toll calculation is. So the Troxus Lynx, they are promoting a good number for range when it comes to battery capacity. The frame is 78 pounds. We are looking at a 78 pound collection here. And so that makes this a pretty heavy bike. It does not fold, there is that. It needs all the structural durability for the ride as well as the battery itself, because it does garner some weight to it. Some of the good aspects that I really like about the company and the bike itself are the fact that there is a 2-year warranty. Now, I will tell you that the manual only says 1 year, so I would ask that Troxus go ahead and fix that. Through our knowledge, it is 2-year warranty on the newly purchased Troxus Lynx. If you don't like it, there is a 15-day return period for Troxus. This is going to be difficult for you. The return shipping and the packing of the bike is going to be difficult. So know this, if you have any inclination that I'm going to try this and test it out, you better keep your bike and your box in good order, and then the repack is going to be a pain. So you have been forewarned. They do say that they will offer free shipping, and that is through the purchase. So that doesn't mean necessarily that that's the return aspect. And generally speaking, most industry brand bikes are going to try and send you parts for repair if anything goes wrong. I'm really happy with the solid frame structure of the bike. On the backside here is the opening for the motor cable to come out. You also have the rear brake light and then the PAS sensors. So those wires have to be released. But underneath, a lot of the previous models for Troxus had an open area where the wires were exposed at the bottom bracket. Here, that is not the case. It is a solid structure all the way through. So if you hit the bottom of the bike onto a large body, a rock, a log, whatever, it's not going to mess up your cables. That provides a large housing here for the controller, and we've actually already been in there. We'll show you a snippet of that right now. And then we'll pull this clip here and take off this zip tie, and then I'm going to undo the motor cabling. And then there's another zip tie up in here that I'm going to clip off. All right. So this is the controller out of the Troxus Lynx. It has a 48 volt rating, which we know, 22 amp max current. So if you're going to try and do a balanced discharge for dual battery, just know that you have 22 amp max current on your controller. The rated current is 11, so that is your continuous. Low voltage cutoff at 40 volts. Typically, I think 54.6 is the high voltage for a battery when it's fully charged. And then throttle adjustment takes you 1.2 to 4.4 volts on full throttle. I really feel like this is an industry standard as well, but there's something to be said for the kickstand. When the kickstand is down, you can actually roll the bike backwards, and if the pedals are having to move, you are still able to do so. Another aspect that I really like is the BMX bars. Troxus has actually made the crossbar the same diameter as the handlebars themselves, and then mounted their display right on the crossbar. You'll notice the BMX stem here, and it just gives it that bike feel, which is often missing. It's somewhere in between a cross of a motorcycle and a BMX bike style, which I really, really like. The feeling is there for that. There's a stark difference in the cable management on the Troxus Lynx versus, let's say, the Troxus Skyhopper. We really appreciate that. There's effort there, and then you can see that there's even enough slack to make some movement on your handlebar without restricting that movement by the brake cables. I do like that the Textro brakes have the integrated bell. That's one of the best features for the mechanical disc brakes, is the integrated bell on these Textro handles. They are textured, which is very nice as well. The grips are also fastened down, which is that is a key aspect for me. I do not appreciate the slip-on grips, the ones where everybody's saying use an air compressor, use an air hose. In my general opinion, the public should not have to have an air compressor like that, or an air hose, to do that job. So that involves something else, and for a lot of people it ends up being cutting them off, which isn't good. So with these grips, they actually have a fastening ring at the end, so you can tighten them down, and then they will slip off as well, which is good. And they are more of the ergonomic style, so it hits more of the palm of your hand. Troxus went with a larger, more comfortable upgraded seat versus their lower tier models as well. This is more of a cruiser style, which when you ride the bike, you are more upright, which is a nice feeling for a longer ride. And there is enough cushion in the rear wheel to provide that support, even though there is no rear suspension. The rear rack on the bike itself is integrated into the frame, so there's quality mounting point with a similar curvature to the bracketry and the frame, so it fits and it looks like it was meant to be there. They did give a wood rack on top of the deck of the rear rack, and it gives a nice aesthetic to the bike. The bike comes with fenders, and what you'll notice is they are metal, and I appreciate that as well. They didn't shortchange the durability necessary for a fender, and we are happy that these fenders are metal. You do get an adjustable front fork with the Troxus, and over the top you can actually see when you move it in the lock position, it will lock out the fork, not allowing the suspension action. And then as you open it, it will allow it to open, and then you can actually get the suspension action out of the front fork. The battery size on this bike, the 48 volt 20 amp hour battery, necessitates a good charger. What you have is the lithium ion battery charger from Troxus, is a 48 volt 3 amp discharge. Typical chargers across the market are 2 amps, so it's good to see the 3 amp. That means you're going to have a quicker charge, and that's great with this larger capacity battery. A typical 48 volt 10 on 2, you're looking anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, and that's going to be a lot shorter with this bike, even with the 20 amp hour capacity. The bike comes with an owner's manual. I'm looking for more from this Troxus. I really want you guys to step up the owner's manual. It's very hard to read. We want to make sure that the statistics and stats for the bike are the same across the board. So what you have on the website versus what you have in the manual need to align. And this is something that instills that trust for the customers, and they want to know it too. And a lot of people covet these instruction manuals, and I do too. I like having them for the settings, knowing it's my go-to, and I like knowing the specs as well, and then general maintenance for it. You do get a couple of wrenches and then an Allen set tool for the installation of all the parts for the bike out of the box. They do work, but I do suggest getting your own set of wrenches. This becomes cumbersome in most cases when you're doing general maintenance. The Troxus Lynx is limited to 1 through 5 PAS settings. It does exhibit power, and honestly, it is not as jerky as you might think it would be given other industry bikes. This seems to be tempered, but then you feel the power come in behind you. We're going to take off on a ride in another video and show you that, so stay tuned to us for that video. The bike does have a actuated rear light, so a tail light. So when your lights are on at night, it is a dim red, and then when you actually hit the brakes, it does a flashing red light, which is really nice. These are both controlled at the display controller on the left-hand side right next to the throttle. The bike is also keyed to the frame, which is really nice. If you get a replacement battery, you don't have to carry a second key for that battery, which has been an industry conundrum for quite some time as well, so we like that fact. The bike frame is keyed rather than the battery itself. There's a charging port, which is just an access through hole, so you can charge the battery while the battery is in the bike. Here's some considerations for Troxus's next version of the Lynx. We are looking for some reflective rim on the tire itself, so the reflective band on the outer edge. We would also look for hydraulic brakes. We would also look for integrated frame mounts that match the industry standard frame or an accessory from Troxus to hook up a front basket. This bike is prime for delivery vehicles, so we think that that should be a consideration for general accessories on the bike itself. If you get this bike and you're thinking about some upgrades to what you might be after, I think that a higher tooth count crank will get you pedaling with resistance into higher speeds. I think this freewheel, you can go down to an 11, but you want to get a good one. I know Drift Maniac is very popular on the internet for an 11 tooth high gear, so on this bike it would be seventh gear, but this is a 46 tooth crank, so you can go a little bit higher. Keep in mind though that the pedal is pretty low. Right now we are just a wrench off of the ground when it's at its depth. So this style here, I have size 15 feet, so when I'm on it, I have to make sure that they're level and that I must rotate out of a turn so that I don't grind my heel or flip my toes underneath the pedal. If you go for a larger crank, you should not investigate a larger crank arm because that's going to put you even closer to the ground. Straight away, ElectricAllWheel, we are going to put hydraulic brakes on this bike. These brakes are good though. They're the Tektro mechanical disc brakes. They adjust through the wheel. On the rear, you do have enough room if you rotate the motor around to actually get a wrench in there. So I like that fact. A lot of times you have to take the rear wheel out or pull the caliper on the brake itself to adjust the depth. So that's a quality add. I like the fact that the industry standard for these 20-inch bikes is generally 20x4, and with 20x4 that means that there is a large selection of aftermarket tires, and we would look likely towards a street tire with a smooth tread because we are in flat Florida and we're not looking to off-road it in any scenario. There is the sand. I generally don't ride in sand, and if I did get a tread, I would look for less knobby, but a little bit of that off-road gripping power, but moreover, I want less noise while I'm out there on the trail. Another set of must-haves would be a good pannier bag set, and we would look for this from Troxus first, just to see if they have something that matches the aesthetic. And then with the dogs in tow, we would definitely want to get a trailer. Now keep this in mind, the diameter of a 26-inch wheel or more is going to be greater, so if you're looking at the axles, the outer edge of the rim, this is just a 20, so sometimes your trailers are going to be riding in this manner, so you want to look out for that while if you decide to pull the trailer, and keep that in mind while you're riding up over dips, hills, driveways, etc. So this bike is priced at $21.99, and at that price point we would look for some of the upgrades, but we do feel that it is a competitor, and if you are a fan of the Troxus brand and you like the aesthetic of this bike, you're not going to go wrong. Another thing that we know about Troxus is they often have really good sales, and at the time that this is recorded, was $400 off for Father's Day. So these are pretty frequent. I was able to get a Vulcanus with a discount code for less than $800 brand new, so that was awesome as well. Keep that in mind when you're checking out the Troxus. I really like it. The ride is nice, the feel is nice, the positioning is good, it's comfortable, and it moves, and that's the best part about it. And this battery cannot be beat. So it is a good bike to get. Lay your eyes on, put it on your consideration list, and let us know if you have any questions. We're gonna leave a discount code in the description below. We'll give you a link to the bike as well. This was an offering from Troxus, and we really appreciate them sending it out here and letting us take a look at the Troxus Lynx 20x4 750 watt rear hub motor with a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery. Oh my gosh, thank you very much. Ebikes of Tampa Bay, Florida, ElectricAllWheel, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We'll talk to you next time.